Hi everyone. Good morning. Um, it's afternoon already. Good afternoon. Before we go ahead, it's afternoon already. Good afternoon. Before we go ahead, it's afternoon already. Good afternoon. Before we go ahead, it's afternoon already. Good afternoon. Before we go ahead, it's afternoon already. Good afternoon. Before we go ahead, it's afternoon already. Good afternoon. Before we go ahead, it's afternoon already. Good afternoon. Before we go ahead, it's afternoon already. Good afternoon. I think this is echoing. Okay. It's fine now. Yeah. Um, Hi. Before we go ahead this afternoon, can I please ask that you go over to the subscription button and click subscribe to this channel. It will help us, it will do us a lot of good. Um, it's nice that okay, whenever we are live, you know when our program is on. That is if you subscribe, so you will receive notification each time we are live or each time we have a post on this channel. Today we'll be reading from Genesis chapter 7. Yeah, from verse 1. Genesis chapter 7 from verse 1. And I read, um, verse 1, and the Lord said unto Noah, Come, thou and all thy house into the ark, for thee have I seen righteous before me in this generation. Like we studied yesterday, we learned that Noah is an upright man and he is perfect. God called him a perfect man in his generation. And again, we are reading from chapter 7, and that is again what the description is what is starting verse 1 as well. And the Lord said unto Noah, Come, thou and all thy household into the ark, for thee have I seen righteous before me in this generation. Like we said yesterday, we established that this was a good remark. Like, in fact, if there's anything more than good, this remark is what we all should be getting from God, you know. And verse 2 says, Of every clean beast thou shalt take to thee by sevens, the male and his female, and of beasts that are not clean by two, the male and his female. Okay. Verse 3 says, Of fowls also of the air by sevens, the male and the female, to keep seed alive upon the face of all the earth. Verse 4, for yet 7 days, and I will cause it to rain upon the earth, 40 days and 40 nights. And every living substance that I have made will I destroy from off the face of the earth. I take verse 4 again. For yet 7 days, and I will cause it to rain upon the for yet 7 days, and I will cause it to rain upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. And every living substance that I have made will I destroy from off the face of the earth. Verses 5, and Noah did according unto all that the Lord commanded him. Verses 6, and Noah was 600 years old when the flood of waters was upon the earth. Verse 7, and Noah went in, and his sons and his wife, and his sons' wives with him into the ark because of the waters of the flood. Verses 8, of clean beasts and of beasts that are not clean, and of fowls, and of everything that creepeth upon the earth, there went in two and two unto Noah into the ark, the male and the female, as God had commanded Noah. And it came to pass after 7 days that the waters of the flood were upon the earth, just like God had said or God has instructed. One thing that also struck me in um verse verse 8, okay, in verse 9. Verse 9 said, there went in two and two unto Noah into the ark, the male and the female, as God has commanded. Have you realized that, God gave an instruction and said Noah should, do this, have the animals go into the ark, two, seven of the clean, animals and two of the unclean animals, in numbers. But do you wonder also as well that because Noah was ready to obey, God made it, as in the instruction, simple for him. Noah did not have to go, looking for the animals. Noah did not have to go, because it wasn't stated in the Bible that Noah went looking for the animals by himself. Lions were in the bushes, in the thick forest. But he was ready to obey God. That was why God also made it easy for him and brought these animals in their numbers. Because do you imagine that, all the animals, maybe all the lions would have gathered and then all of them would have wanted to go into the ark? Because everything at that particular time that, is in tune, is only the animals that were in tune with what God, want, that came into the ark. The animals that God has directed. Just like, okay, if you are in tune with God, and God will make things as well easy for us. If we are in tune with God, God makes things easy for us. And looking at verses 9, there went in two and two unto Noah in the ark, into the ark, the male and the female, as God has commanded Noah. And it came to pass 7 days that the waters of the flood were upon the earth, just like God has commanded. So there was no gimmick. God was true to his word. After 7 days, the flood came. After 7 days that they went into the ark. Verse 11, in the 600th year of Noah's life, in the second month, the 17th day of the month, the same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken up. All the fountains of the great deep broken up, and the windows of heaven were opened. And the rain was upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. In verse 13 says, in the self same day entered Noah and Shem and Ham and Japheth, the sons of Noah, and Noah's wife, and the three wives of his sons, with them into the ark, they and every beast after his kind, and all the cattle after their kind, and every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth after his kind, and every fowl after his kind, and every bird of every sort. Okay, meaning after God gave him instructions, 7 days after God gave him instructions, the flood came upon the earth. Verses 15 says, and they went in unto Noah into the ark, two and two of all flesh, wherein is the breath of life. Verse 16, and they that went in male and female of all flesh, as God had commanded him, and the Lord shut him in with the animals. Verses 17, and the flood was 40 days upon the earth, and the waters increased and bare up the ark, and it was lifted up above the ark. So when the flood came, the flood bear up the ark. God had already fashioned everything even before the flood came. So God was the master planner, so he has already planned how everything will be. Verses 18 says, and the waters prevailed and were increased greatly upon the earth, and the ark went up the face of the waters. Verses 19, and the waters prevailed exceedingly upon the earth, and all the high hills that were under the whole heavens were covered. Verses, all the high hills, all the high hills that were under the whole heaven were covered, meaning there was no escape route for anything, for any animal, for any human being. Verses 19, and the waters prevailed exceedingly upon the earth, and all the hill and all the high hills that were under the whole heaven were covered. Verses 20, 15 cubits upwards did the waters prevail, and the mountains were covered. 21, and all flesh died that moved upon the earth, both of fowl and of cattle, and of beasts, and of every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth, and every man. You can imagine that came last, and every single man on the face of the earth, apart from Noah and his family that were inside the ark, died. Verses 22, all in whose nostrils was the breath of life, of all that was in the dry land, died. Can we hear that again? All in whose nostrils was the breath of life, of all that was in the dry land, died. So is always, surprising when we start having the notion that God, cannot punish human being. God cannot be wicked to punish human being as per putting them, in hell to, which is an internal damnation where, worms there never die, and we say, no, this can't happen. But we can see here that this happened in the time of Noah. Everything that has, breath in his nostrils died, you know, apart from Noah and his family that were already saved in the ark. People that were on the face of the earth, everything, animals, human beings, everything died. So another day, another experience of this sort is coming. And it is good that we heed the warning on time, as we rightly discussed yesterday. Verses 23 says, and every living substance was destroyed, which was upon the face of the ground, both man and cattle, and the creeping things, and the fowl of the heaven, and they were destroyed from the earth. And Noah only remained alive, and they that were with him in the ark. Verses 24, and the waters prevailed upon the earth 150 days. And that is after the 40 days and 40 nights of flood that came down from heaven and from the face of the earth, and submerged the whole of the earth to snuff out life from every living thing that liveth on the face of the earth. After that, the flood ceased after the 40 days. But definitely the waters, was upon the face of the earth. So the Bible said that these waters, prevailed upon the face of the earth 150 days before, the waters were, drained off or cleared off, you know, through some sort of drainage. I pray that the Lord God will bless the reading of His word and help us to heed, to the various warnings, to his call, and also help us to be obedient to his words and his will in Jesus' mighty name. If time permits us, we will still do chapter 8 as well today. God bless you.